What's up YouTube, Zero here, and today I have an absolutely epic Skarmory EX and Skarmory deck build in Pokemon TCG Pocket. In this video, I'll go over the deck build that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. I'll talk about each of these cards individually, and I'll talk about why this deck works so great together. And that's right, the only Pokemon in this deck is Skarmory. Skarmory is an absolutely amazing card, both its non-EX version and its EX version, and this is my first deck build with the new drop of the packs Wisdom of Sea and Sky. Skarmory EX is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs, and I came out with this deck because, one, Skarmory EX is the first EX Pokemon I've unlocked with the new decks for ×2 cards, which is always nice. It's a great card to have in a lot of different decks, and base Skarmory, the original Skarmory that's been out for a little while now, has always been a phenomenal card, especially in metal type decks. And what's really nice is that both of these cards play really well with each other. They can hit really quickly and really catch your opponent off guard. But before I get into it, I do want to say, if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Pokemon TCG content. Do a bunch of other video games, so feel free to check those out as well. Without further ado, let's talk about this Skarmory deck. That's right, both Skarmory and Skarmory EX. First, I want to talk about one of the stars of the show, Skarmory EX. Skarmory EX is pretty straightforward. For 2 metal energy, you have Steel Wing, which deals 70 damage. It also has a caveat to Steel Wing. During your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes -20 damage from attacks. So that's pretty nice. One, it doesn't require a lot of energy to attack for 70 damage. Only 2 energy and you're attacking for 70 damage. On top of that, your opponent's next turn, they're doing -20 damage from attacks. So that's really nice as well. Depending upon the move or the Pokemon you're facing, you're going to be taking -20 damage, which is going to be nice as well. It's going to increase the survivability of Skarmory EX. But what's really nice, again, is the fact that it can hit really fast, really quickly for 70 damage. Only 2 energy, which is really nice. Next, let's talk about the other Pokemon, Skarmory non-EX. If you've been playing the game for a little while, you already know about this Pokemon because it's absolutely phenomenal. It's in a lot of metal decks and can really change the tide of battle. It is a phenomenal card to have, one of the best in the game, especially to start matches really quickly, hitting your opponent really hard. So non-EX Skarmory, for 1 metal energy, has Metal Arms, which is 20 plus damage. So it's going to deal 20 damage. However, if this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached, this attack does 30 more damage. So if you have a tool attached to non-EX Skarmory, you're going to be dealing 50 damage. That's absolutely phenomenal and can really catch a lot of opponents and Pokemon off guard, to where you can either one-hit KO. You can see the Zubat that I'm facing in the active slot has only 50 HP. There are a few Pokemon in the game that do only have 50 HP, so you can one-hit KO a couple of those Pokemon, or you can do a significant amount of damage. A lot of basic Pokemon are going to have 60 HP or 80 HP, so you're going to be able to hit them and deal a significant amount of damage to their HP. So both of these Pokemon, Skarmory and Skarmory EX, can deal a lot of damage really quickly. That's one of the benefits of pairing these 2 Pokemon up, or these 2 Pokemon cards. 1 Pokemon, but 2 different cards. Pairing these 2 up, you know you're going to get at least 1 to start the match, and you know that pretty quickly you're going to be hitting really hard, really fast, which is going to turn the tide of battle in your favor. Skarmory is going to be found in the Space Time Smackdown packs, either one. So you can unlock either one or open either one to have an opportunity to unlock Skarmory if you don't have it. Next, I want to talk about a Pokemon tool that pairs really well with both of these Pokemon, and it's Steel Apron. And Steel Apron was also just released in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky packs. It's going to be found in the Ho-Oh specific packs, so just be aware of that. But Steel Apron, the metal Pokemon this card is attached to, takes minus 10 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon, recovers from all special conditions, and can't be affected by special conditions. This is absolutely a phenomenal card for metal type Pokemon for several reasons. One, when paired up with Skarmory EX, if Skarmory EX just attacked, now if it has Steel Apron on it, you're going to be taking minus 30 damage from attacks, not just minus 20, not just minus 10, but now minus 30 from attacks. So that's insanely great. You're going to be really protecting yourself from a lot of damage. If your opponent hasn't really been able to set up, your opponent may be doing 0 damage to you. So that's pretty awesome. On top of that, a lot of Pokemon that do hit quickly, you can see the Crobat EX that I'm facing hits for 70 damage and also poisons. Well, with Steel Apron on, it's not going to poison me, and it's only going to be dealing 40 damage instead of the 70, so that's absolutely awesome as well. On top of that, Steel Apron is going to be a great counter to the Nihilego decks that we've seen previously, and I'm sure will continue because Nihilego is still a phenomenal card. Poisoning is still great when coupled with Nihilego, so this is a great counter to those decks. Furthermore, Typhlosion just came out, and Typhlosion has an ability where once per turn, you can burn your opponent's active Pokemon. You can set them ablaze. So that's an extra 20 damage that if you're facing a Typhlosion deck, you're going to be avoiding with Steel Apron. On top of that, Incineroar burns. So there are a lot of Pokemon, and the game is only going further into the status conditions that Steel Apron is going to help you avoid, which is why it's great in this deck and also great for metal type Pokemon to avoid a lot of those decks that are now being centered around status conditions. So it's great for that, and you're going to be taking less damage, as I mentioned, with the minus 10 damage. So that's fantastic as well. The second tool that I have in this deck is Rocky Helm. There are probably a lot of different tools you can put in this deck to enhance it, but I've gone with Rocky Helm. The main reason I'm going with Rocky Helm is because this deck is not dealing a ton of damage. It's dealing quick damage. It's dealing 50 damage from your Skarmory non-EX if you do have a Pokemon tool attached, and it's dealing 70 for your Skarmory EX. That's still not a ton. You're dealing 50 or you're dealing 70, that's not a ton of damage. You're gonna be 2-hit KOing or 3-hit KOing some of the EX Pokemon in the game. So to deal a little bit extra damage when you are facing those Pokemon, I like to have Rocky Helm if they do choose to attack. It's going to be giving me 20 extra damage, or if I start first where I'm not attacking first, I get the opportunity to deal 20 damage. It's going to allow me to just deal a little bit extra damage. It's also going to deter certain Pokemon from attacking me because they know they're going to be taking the 20 damage. So I do like Rocky Helm in this instance. Again, you could probably go with Giant Cape, and that's going to be a nice couple as well for this deck, but I prefer Rocky Helm doing the little bit extra damage because it could help, especially against Pokemon that have 70 HP to start. If you get that 20 and then Skarmory is dealing the 50, you're going to be killing them, so that's nice to do as well. So I just like the Rocky Helm getting that little bit of extra damage towards the other Pokemon. Rocky Helm is going to be found in the Space Time Smackdown Palkia specific packs, so be on the lookout for it there. And for those of you who don't know, Rocky Helm, if your opponent does attack, if Rocky Helm is equipped on your Pokemon, it deals 20 damage to that Pokemon. Next, a couple of basic cards. I have Professor's Research, draw 2 cards. Pokeball, you pick a random basic card from your deck and put it into your hand. It's going to help you get all of your Skarmories in your hand and onto the playing field a lot quicker. So 2 basic cards that are in a lot of decks. Now let's talk about Pokemon Center Lady. I do like this in this deck, especially because Skarmory EX is taking decreased damage. So Pokemon Center Lady is going to be even more effective when coupled with Skarmory EX. So Skarmory EX, like I said, when equipped with Steel Apron, is going to be taking minus 30 damage from attacks. This is going to be guaranteed. Well, Pokemon Center Lady, you heal 30 damage from one of your Pokemon, and it recovers from all special conditions. Obviously, that doesn't matter as much if you have Steel Apron equipped. However, the healing 30 damage is going to be phenomenal. If your opponent is only dealing 40 or 50 damage because you're taking minus 30 damage, well, now Pokemon Center Lady is going to negate most of that damage. It's going to really frustrate your opponents, and it's going to be really hard for your opponents to take out your Skarmory EX, which is why I absolutely love Pokemon Center Lady. It's a phenomenal card in this deck, especially while taking less damage on each of these Skarmories. And Pokemon Center Lady is going to be found in the Shining Revelry packs. Next, a couple of the basics that I love, but they're actually more applicable in this deck than a lot of my other decks, but they're always going to be applicable. Here, they're even more so. Why? Because it can really get you to Pokemon that you can either one-hit KO or Pokemon that are weakened on the bench, and of course, that's going to be Sabrina and Cyrus. So Sabrina, you switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench. Of course, your opponent chooses the new active Pokemon. Now, there could be a Pokemon in that active slot that has a decent amount of HP, but they could also require a lot of energy to build up on before they can attack. Your opponent could have a Pokemon on the bench that doesn't have a lot of HP. For that reason, you may want to get to that Pokemon. Again, I mentioned earlier, Skarmory EX does not take a lot of energy to build up. It takes 2 energy, and then you're dealing 70 damage. So if there's a Pokemon on your opponent's bench, you could see in this instance, right now it doesn't matter because both of my opponent's Pokemon have 60 HP, so I could take out either. However, if there was a Pokemon in that active slot that was not a one-hit KO, and I saw that Froakie on the bench, I can utilize Sabrina to get to the Froakie and one-hit KO it. On top of that, if my opponent evolves the Froakie into a Greninja and I can't one-hit KO, and I see that there's a Rowlet on the bench that has energy equipped, I could utilize my Sabrina, get to the Rowlet, and one-hit KO that Rowlet, so my opponent can't evolve into his or her Decidueye. So there are a lot of reasons to utilize Sabrina. You can force a Pokemon on the bench that has a high retreat cost into the active slot. It can really throw off your opponent's strategy. There are a lot of uses for it, but it's even more so applicable in this deck because you're dealing 70 damage. You can hit really quickly with 70 damage, so you want to get those weaker Pokemon into that active slot. Cyrus, almost the same effect. Cyrus, you switch in one of your opponent's damaged Pokemon from the bench to the active slot. So as I mentioned, Skarmory EX and Skarmory are going to be dealing quick damage, but they may not be one-hit KOing some of the beefier EX Pokemon. This is going to allow your opponent to retreat those Pokemon to try and save them from being KO'd. This is going to make Cyrus very important because you can take those Pokemon from the bench to the active slot and finish them off. So Cyrus is going to be really important in this deck. Sabrina is going to be found in the Genetic Apex Charizard packs, and Cyrus is going to be found in the Space-Time Smackdown Palkia packs, so just be aware of that. Last but not least, an amazing card to pair with Skarmory EX, and that's going to be Jasmine. Jasmine is going to be found in the Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs, so again, pairing it up with Skarmory EX and the Steel Apron, these are going to be found in your Wisdom of Sea and Sky Ho-Oh packs. Jasmine is great for Skarmory EX. So Jasmine, during your opponent's next turn, all of your Steelix and Skarmory EX take minus 50 damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. So this is really phenomenal. If you've already attacked with your Skarmory EX, you're now at minus 20 damage. If you have this Steel Apron on, you're now at minus 30 damage. If you use Jasmine, you're now at minus 80 damage. So in one turn, you could save 80 HP from your Skarmory EX. That's absolutely phenomenal. It can really save your Skarmory EX and prevent your opponent from one-hit KOing, or even two-hit KOing, or even three-hit KOing your Skarmory EX. You can make it so a pretty powerful Pokemon deals 0 damage to your Skarmory EX. I mentioned earlier that Crobat EX, that would be dealing 0 damage to your Skarmory EX with Jasmine plus Steel Apron plus the move from Skarmory EX. So that's the deck. It's a really fun deck. I really enjoy it, but let me know in the comment section what y'all think of this deck. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Definitely hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It does really help out me and my channel. I really appreciate it, and until next time, peace.